To the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is resolve. What is it that inspires our resolve? Do we have to take action to spur resolve, or do we have to have resolve to take action? So it'll be an interesting conversation. And before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to be here with you this morning. And everyone else who's joining us, welcome. So, resolve. It didn't occur to me, but I'm thinking maybe it would be good to look up the definition of resolve. Because one of the things that I'm hearing as I say the word is resolve. And let's just see what the dictionary has to say about it. It's amazing what we can do with these phones, isn't it? Right? So, resolve, to come to a definite or earnest decision about, determine to do something. To reduce or convert by, or as by breaking up or disintegration, maybe that's interesting, to reduce, to convert or transform by any process, to resolve. And we cultivate resolve, which is commitment, determination. And I've been observing myself to be thinking about this question in terms of taking on a challenge, a project. And initially, I knew that this was something that I wanted to do, that I was committed to doing, but I didn't have the resolve. And what I noticed was very interesting, and I wonder if you find the same, that it was in getting into action about it that the resolve grew, that the commitment, the sense of commitment grew. And I think that we can set ourselves up in a positive way to cultivate our resolve, to fortify our resolve. It might be by finding partners, finding support in the thing that you want to do so that there's an accountability about it. You might be it's interesting. So what I'm talking about specifically, I've mentioned a lot that I've been wanting to create this course around money and enough, and being enough, being, doing, and having enough. And enough as in true abundance, not excess, not over extension, but to find satisfaction, to actually be able to find satisfaction, satiety, rather than being overly full, right? And it's been something that's been on my mind for a really long time. And there were a lot of barriers for me that I hadn't really realized. I had my own internal barriers that I've been working on around that. And I also had some of that was not knowing how. And so it was so interesting how when you have an intention, the universe conspires to support you, sometimes in spite of yourself, right? So I was scrolling around on TikTok, True Confessions, and I saw a short promotion for a company that supports people in building their business, but in a way that felt a lot more aligned with what I'm up to and how I am, and the fact that I don't have that self-promotion is not my thing, really. Anyway, so it was a big leap to choose to engage with this group, and it was a big commitment. And so what I've noticed is that having that team to support me, even though we're at the very beginning, even though we haven't really engaged very, very deeply yet, having that team has strengthened my resolve, and I've gotten into greater action about it. And so it's interesting because I consider myself somebody pretty much independent. And I also noticed that having a support team is a really profoundly important and powerful thing for me. And I wonder, as we learn more about ourselves, as we become more self-aware and self-observing, um, we can still be, even at whatever stage in life, we can still be discovering aspects of ourselves that we were not necessarily consciously aware of, that will help us, support us in creating what we are inspired to create. So again, the universe supporting us in our intentions in ways that we couldn't really manufacture. Like I wasn't consciously, let's say that, I wasn't consciously looking for a support team. And now that I have a support team that I feel is qualified to guide me in this endeavor, now the energy for it is emerging. And I encourage you to look in your own lives to be finding or discovering what kinds of dynamics support you, and also to be noticing the gifts that the universe puts in your path to help you strengthen your own resolve, to help you move into your greater expression. So little things. This was just like, as we notice the gifts that are put in our path, the more they occur. So just something really, really little that could have been perhaps overlooked, but I had to mail something out to someone, and I was thinking I don't know what about a box to put this thing in. And the very next day, I had ordered something that was delivered and it was in a box that was the perfect size. Just silly, crazy little things like that that make life flow, that make life easier. Rosalind says, I noticed that giving myself permission was a big one, not needing outside validation. I think you put your finger on it, Rosalind, because when we make that internal commitment, that is a resolve and it's in its way. It's like, I'm resolved to do this. I'm going to do this. Or it's usually a doing. Maybe it isn't. Maybe the resolve itself, maybe that's the state of being that allows for the doing to flow. We talk a lot about how we let's be human beings rather than human doings, and let's allow the doing to move from inspiration. And maybe that's what the resolve is a shift of being. And as you say, giving yourself permission to make that shift of being that is commitment, that is resolve, to say, I am committed. And from that commitment, giving yourself permission, whether other people are there for you, supporting you or not, can allow for all these wonderful, amazing synchronicities to show up that are the fulfillment of your requests of it. So there's a beingness that's an alignment of your vision, your inspiration, your will. And that alignment then propels us into inspired action. And as we take that step, it's kind of that step off into the unknown, and then all of a sudden the bridge appears from I don't know if was it Raiders of the Lost Ark, but one of the Indiana Jones movies. When we take that internal leap of faith, giving ourselves permission, making that internal commitment, then magic happens. The universe responds. And it's really quite remarkable how that happens. The more we get out of the way, we make a commitment and then sort of open our hearts and our arms to whatever that possibility is, that unknown, stepping into it, the universe responds in ways that are much richer than we might have been able to come up with on our own. And it's pure magic. So like resolve, I don't think resolve comes from discipline necessarily. I think discipline maybe comes from resolve, like clarity. When I think of discipline, I think of force. And that's very different from the discipline of being within a discipline, like being within a discipline versus disciplining oneself. And that might be a I don't know if it's a subtle distinction or not, but I think the impact is radically different. So like being in a discipline, like practicing yoga with regularity, or or presencing, mindfulness is kind of being within a discipline rather than disciplining ourselves, like trying to override ourselves, trying to control ourselves. So Rosalind says having strength to continue a practice, like being that strength rather than enforcing that strength, rather than forcing ourselves, to be in a space of connection with our intentions and our higher intentions, be in alignment with our higher intentions. So I think alignment is a big part of it, is a big part of the resolve. It's kind of like when that last piece falls into place, then we can move forward. It's like when the gears engage, and that's the resolve. And once those gears engage, then we have energy to move forward in a way that wasn't previously available to us. Uh, I that feels so right to me as I'm thinking about it, because in this project, my energies were kind of diffuse and scattered and all over the place. And what happened was over time, they became more and more focused. And finally, like went plunk, that last part fell into place, and then there's the energy. I like the idea of the gears engaging, for instance, in an engine, although I don't know how engines work. I don't know that they have gears necessarily anymore, but um, uh, I I think that alignment is the key for resolve. And it is a wholeness of being, a wholeness of intention. So I can say that I made the commitment to do this before I had full resolve. And then once I got in action with that commitment, then the beingness of the resolve, the certainty, the clarity, the alignment emerged. And I encourage you to look at your own process. Like, is that something that you notice? Because there may be, I don't know that there's a singular strategy, but there may be a particular sequence of events, awarenesses that you can discover within yourself that will support you in moving toward your the fulfillment of your dreams, and taking them from dream and aspiration into manifestation, which is a pretty exciting thing. What I'm noticing is that there's an enlivenment. I'm noticing um, that there's an excitement, there's a vitality about it for me at this phase. And I would imagine that that would be the same for you, is as you step into something more fully, you're so I just recently got an e-bike, and I haven't bicycled in years and years. And the hardest part, this is a heavy bike, the hardest part about riding this thing is getting it started. And I think that, when we're pressing against to start momentum, the hardest part is getting it started. And if we can find a way to give ourselves a little bit of throttle. That's what's on this bike. So if it's in the pedal assist mode, you can use the throttle, and that'll give it a goose to be able to get it started. If we can find a throttle for ourselves in our lives to help propel us in the direction we want to go, that's a really wonderful discovery, to find out what is the mechanism for ourselves that enables us to get that momentum started. So it takes more push to start moving, to get against inertia, there, to get past the inertia. And sometimes that's enlisting support from others. That's what it was for me here, is to find, well, I was gifted the right others, just showed up. And I was paying attention enough, and the timing was such that I pretty much had said, boy, I really could use some help doing this. I wish I knew who to work with around this. And it presented itself, and I was paying enough attention. I was already in the intention that I was able to take advantage of it. Right place, right time. And it is alignment. When we're in alignment with ourselves, our alignment with the universe is much more present. And we can be much more present to it. So it's interesting to look at intentions versus goals. There may be intention driving a goal. A goal is kind of like a milestone. At least that's how I see it. To me, the foundational part, the piece that's most important, is the intention, because the goal can shift. And also, goals are black and white. If you either make a goal or you don't make a goal. Whereas an intention is something that is over time. It's less constrained. So if we're focused on the intention, the goals can be feedback rather than the goals being the objective. The intention is the objective. And then it can say, you know what, we can abandon that goal. That goal is no longer relevant. And we could do that if it were just goals as well. But I really believe that the focus is on intention, because intention goes to the state of being, whereas goals, people get so obsessed with the goal that they forget about the being, and on the way there or reaching the goal is thankless and unfulfilling, unsatisfying. You might get something done, but there's no reward in it necessarily. Whereas the intention, if it's driven by the intention and the goal gets accomplished, then that's a fulfillment toward the intention. And that's where we experience a sense of reward. And there are so many times that I've had these big goals and I've achieved them, and it was just empty. Okay, now what? What's the next one? Versus moving toward the fulfillment of an intention, moving into, living into, not waiting to get there to get the reward, but being in the intention is the being state that is a reward in and of itself, to be moving in that direction, not just looking for the outcome, but being in the process. And I think that's the difference between goals and intentions. And this sense of resolve, I'm not talking about resolve as in I'm going to do this no matter what, not a doing resolve, but a being resolve. Like there's this alignment, this connection, this energy and momentum that is energizing the intention and the action in the world. So inspired action. So somehow this is starting to formulate, like that there's inspiration, alignment, resolve, maybe. Anyway, I think it's interesting to look at our own mechanisms and to recognize what brings us greater vitality, what is bringing us greater alignment, what is bringing us a greater sense of fulfillment and expression. And so resolve is something that emerges in this conversation anyway, rather than something we're trying to enforce. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel, and actually my own Facebook page. And things eventually get posted to my YouTube channel as well. And as always, it is a pleasure and a privilege to be able to spend this time with you. And I so appreciate you. So until next time, so much love.